What's going on, guys? So last week I had my family make some characters with my character creator. They were able to make their characters by changing colors, mesh, hairstyles, and shape keys. Shape keys are used in Blender to deform objects into new shapes. I use them heavily in my Unity character creator to change different facial attributes, such as nose width or chin length. I wanted to apply what I learned about shape keys to improve my new plant growing system. So over the past 4 years, I've had multiple iterations of the system to grow trees and plants. First iteration, I had different stages of plants have different prefabs. Then I tried to improve upon that by having different stages of plants just have different mesh rather than all separate prefabs. So one prefab, just different meshes. And then what I did most recently was I added blend shapes to simulate growth between these stages. Ideally, my goal is to have one mesh for each type of plant, and plants would include trees, crops, flowers, and bushes. It would also make the code a bit simpler, as I would not need to swap out different meshes anymore. I could just change the blend shape value based on the age of the plant. In addition, I could procedurally assign values such as life points and loot quantity based on the size of the object. For example, a tree that is 80% mature should be larger and drop more wood, acorns, etc. than a 30% matured tree, which would only really be the size of, like, let's say, a sapling. Being that bigger trees will drop more and a greater variety of loot, players will likely use the most efficient tool for the job. This is where the specialized hitboxes come in handy. Prior to this week, every character and object had the same type of hitbox, so there's no way to determine that an axe was colliding with the tree or a pickaxe was colliding with a rock. Being that I wanted certain tools or weapons to deal extra damage to certain types of objects, I had to first restructure my collision system. I started off by simplifying my layered collision matrix to only 2 layers, weapon and hitbox. Prior to this, I had about 6 other ones, but the list just kept growing as I added more different types of objects. Having less collisions means less physics, system collision calculations, and thus better performance. So now once a weapon collides with a hitbox, it determines whether it's a character or object hitbox. If it hits an object with a weapon collision script, it compares the weapon to the type of object to determine whether to increase or reduce the final damage. For example, if a pickaxe will deal 2 times damage to rocks and ore veins, while an axe will deal double damage to wood, such as trees, wooden doors, or barrels. If a sword hits a tree or rock, the damage will be halved as it is not effective against these objects. One of the main goals for my game is always allow player choice. A player could cut down all the trees in the forest with a copper sword, but obviously it would take them much longer than a player using a copper axe. But the choice should still be there. On the flip side, the player may want to go into combat using a pickaxe. Again, not the optimal choice, being slower than a sword, but still a viable option if they choose. Eventually, I will use the same weapon collision script to add sound effects and particle effects upon specific weapon versus hitbox collision types. So in conclusion, the use of blend shapes will help simplify my plant system, while also creating simulated real-time growth in unison with my in-game day-night cycle. While specialized hitboxes will determine which type of object was hit, this will also determine the effectiveness of the type of weapon or tool used. Specific sound made upon impact, and type of particle effect to instantiate at the point of contact. So all in all, I'm happy with the progress I made this week. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know below.